This next model review is by Special Hobby, and it's the X-15 A-2, and it's 1/48 scale. This is a very hard model to find. I always wanted to have it in a 1/48 scale. This is Special Hobby is made in Czech Republic, and this is a very hard model to find. The other model companies don't make the X-15 in this scale. Anyway, I bought this online, and obviously it's used, but let's have a look and see what we have. Special Hobby tends to make very good quality kits with lots of extra details. So we have a number of things here. So this one's been started, and as you can see, we've got the tail on here. These are resin parts, and they've already been glued on. Resin parts can be difficult to work with because of the dust that they make when you sand them down. They're quite hard. They also can't be glued with regular glue. They have to be glued on with super glue. This is our cockpit, and as you can see, there's a fair level of detail here. That's the instrument panel. Here's our nose wheel, and the plastic parts seem to have a fair level of surface detail as well. They have both engraved panel lines as well as some rivet lines. We have some additional parts already put on here. Looks like this is partially filled. That'll need to be filled up some more and then sanded down. Inside, this is the exhaust, and looks like there's some gaps that'll need to be filled over there. So that's the fuselage. Let's have a look. There's not a lot of parts to this. These are the extra fuel tanks if you wanted to use those. I probably would not want to use those. I'd like to make the original. Here's our stabilizers. Here's the top of the cockpit. Looks like it's going to need to be filled up some more and sanded down. Another part for the wing over here. Most of these parts have been taken off. Here is our main wing. It'll need to be glued on. Looks like they've already been glued together. Then we have our instructions. Just go like that. The X-15A gives you our parts listing, as well as all the resin parts, and then the clear part, which looks like it's a clear plastic sheet. So this is putting together the cockpit. We'll have a look at the resin parts. Looks like most of these are resin parts, and we have some options here depending on how you would like it to be built. If you wanted to take the bottom off, I think I prefer not to. Then we have putting the fuselage together. Some of this has already been done with the tail section. And the back wings, looks like they need to be dropped by 20 degrees. And these are the tanks, if you decide to use those. And then if you decide to have the wheels out, you would have the shortened tail, it looks like. Here's the landing gear with a tripod there, and then putting together the rest of the pieces, the ejection seat and wheels. Looks looks like here we have the painting guide as well as decals. Must be a number of decals for this. And the options with the tanks and without the tanks. And then there's the there's another version here. Let's have a look over here at our parts. So these resin parts tend to come on a base, such as this, and you have to saw them off. They can't just be clipped off because they're very fragile and they tend to shatter. There's the other side, some of those parts here. Here's our cockpit. As you can see, with resin parts you can really have a lot of extra details. Not to say you can't do it with styrene plastic, but just people tend not to. Here is our ejection seat. There's a fair level of detail on this. We'll need to add some things like some of the lines and tubes. And it looks like that's going to go in there, just like that. Here are our wheels, which have some nice detail in them. And on the other side, some nice wheels. This is going to be the holding the wheels. And then a whole bunch of little parts that need to be put on. Looks like air brake. A whole bunch of little parts put together here. Some of these are already broken off. Okay, let's see here. This is the clear plastic to make the windshield. They give you a bunch. I guess they're expecting you to mess it up a couple times. Let's have a look at our decals here. So we have a number of decals. This is the correction sheet. Some additional decals. And this is probably the original decal sheet here. Some of the NASA signs. Rescue. And it looks like they have made the font bolder for the USAF, including the US Air Force and the 66671. So, pretty intermediate level model. Has a number of nice options in terms of the resin parts if you like to work with those. And this one's already been started.